everybody, this is Cindy Allen, and this is another episode of At Home. Now, as an architect, you can't get more personal than building your own home. Today, we're so lucky. We're traveling out west to visit my dear friend and Hall of Famer, Clive Wilkinson, who did just that. And not only built a modern home that is winning all sorts of awards, home for his wonderful tour.
On this, and kind of a privilege to be talking about one's own home.
I know. It's a hard thing to do, right? To design your own home.
I think it's the architect's nightmare.
Yeah.
Mainly because they have so many ideas. Those ideas.
Right.
And they tend to find that they used to have this expression in England, a dog's breakfast. And it simply doesn't work. What you're trying to do is the biggest challenge, and what you leave out and what you prioritize.
Right, what you leave out is almost as important as what you put in, right?
It is.
Yeah. And you've had practice because you've designed another home before, right? Did that help you in sort of really thinking about how to, I mean, this house is so special. Was the first go around kind of a good practice run?
It was. When I started the first one, of course, I had the
right.
with the sort of ideas into, and you can't. But I made it easy. That very pragmatic dude to just simply exploit the best potential out of the site and configure a house, not necessarily for myself, but the best use of that site, and really depersonalized it. And that worked, but then I found I had depersonalized it a tiny bit too much.
Well, you learned, lesson learned, right?
Lesson learned. So
right.
I decided the next time around I wasn't going to be quite so kind of ascetic in what I was doing. And then I just had a miracle of a opportunity with the site that's on
right.
a hill right in the middle of Los Angeles. Super convenient to the beach, to downtown, to everything. And it's just nothing could ever block its view. So that was just a kind of a mind-blowing thing. And it also happened to be the first site I saw. So luck suddenly sort of converged, and
well, there's a lot of good energy around you these days, and we'll get to that. But for others, do you think that, because I know the site was something that became very special because it was so steep, and yes. Maybe that is hard for some people to imagine, but not you, right?
Well, I actually think that probably people who are familiar with building in the hills in a town like Los Angeles, have enough cues around them. And of course, there's some fabulous John Lautner houses and things like that,
right.
that are really dreamlike responses to building on a hill. The problem, of course, for an architect like me was, how far is the budget going to stretch? Because right. Building in a hill isn't inexpensive. And then how do you just optimize the window that the city's allowing you to build within, and all of those sorts of things. So it ended up by being 3 levels stacked up, and an early decision was wanting to live on the top of the house,
right? Because
that's where all the views, the most spectacular views were.
Exactly.
And that seemed like also you could live in the roof, you could kind of use the roof. And so I made the lower 2 floors bedrooms, and then, because we've got 5 bedrooms, sizable little family. And then the top space became the big sort of gesture. And as soon as I proposed this, a couple of realtors looked at this and said, "Oh, this is ridiculous. This would never sell to anyone. You've got to have your living in the middle, when it's straight off the street, and bedrooms on top." And
it's the upside down house, right? It's the upside down house. Their old vision of what that is, right?
Yes, yes. And so I was maybe worried for about like 2 minutes, and then carried on. And it has proved its worth, because we've got the kids in the basement, and we can live up on the top floor, especially for work, and we don't
Right.
hear them. And they, even though they're screaming and fighting and killing each other, it just removed enough.
Right. So let's talk about like let's go into the house. Let's act like we're doing a tour. So you walk into the house. Do you see the staircase? The staircase runs through the center of the house, right?
Yes. We've got a front courtyard, sort of concrete, a lot of concrete walls.
Right.
And you enter through a big pivoting wood gate, and you come into the front courtyard to the view, because we carved away from the house so that you would have that experience when you walked in. And then we put the stair smack in the middle, because as you go into the house, you want to sort of just flow straight up to that viewpoint, which you do going up the stair, and you arrive and you're right in the middle of this view. And you can, to your left, you can see downtown. To the right, you can see the ocean. You can see Catalina Island in the distance.
Wow.
On a clear day. So it's amazing. It's like a sort of gift every day.
Yeah, I thought I read somewhere that until you really cleared the site, you actually didn't know how good this was.
Oh yes, the site was a total jungle. I mean, it was really a jungle. It was so that sold me the place. Actually, after we were in escrow, I once came across a group of them digging a hole in the garden. And
what were they doing?
Well, we know they were looking for treasure.
Yeah, they were looking. I thought maybe they were digging out their treasure, their last treasure.
They were looking for treasure, and they were very embarrassed because they weren't meant to be there.
Oh my God.
So I think there's some stories in this location which maybe one day we'll find out.
I love that. I would think the opposite. They're digging and putting a treat in for you to find in 30 years.
Well,
nice.
They had to use machetes to get to even get to the spot that they were digging. It was really crazy. Anyway, so we cleared away the site, and then we were flabbergasted with this view. And the design process actually went fairly quickly, because it all just had to be very logical about how you use the site. It was a little bit like designing in a ship, because we had severe constraints with setbacks and everything like that. And we had to make every square inch work. And then the top floor became this sort of great way of just exploiting construction. It's all natural construction and exposed, but we made that space more dynamic by shifting the sort of apex of the gable roof at 45 degrees. And that just transformed this into something very dynamic and sculptural. But it also made it easy for the builders to build, because they just had a pitched roof that happened to be at an angle. So a lot of the things we were able to use, pretty basic. We didn't have to use very skilled craftsmen or anything like that.
But that angle is really stunning. It does look, I always think of it like when I first saw it, I'm like, yes, it looks like a sculpture. But then it's very crisp at the same time, right? Right? It's like
it's very simple. Yeah.
Yeah. Very so beautiful. So wait a minute, when you got to that form, and you're in your office and you get to this form, you're like, I have something, right? Is that what's going through your mind?
Yes. I mean, we did little physical models, little paper models, and we tried it, honestly, we tried it sort of every different angle. And we ended up this one because it also was able to be rationalized structurally very, very simply as well. So it's like, okay, this just design sort of drops into its kind of, its final self at a certain point, and you just have to see that and run with it then.
And how did you decide on the materiality of what you would use?
Again, very basic construction materials. It's Douglas fir is the common wood that we use out here. I knew that we would have a difference between the construction wood used on the roof and then the slightly better carpenter applied wood on the walls, and that we'd end up with two different lots of Douglas fir, and there could be differences. So I had a plan to just sandblast the lot. And when you sandblast wood together like that, it just naturally starts to blend. And there's no sealer or varnish or anything like that on it at all.
But it's also it's concrete on the outside, correct?
Mixture.
Or some of it is.
Yeah, the lower areas are concrete, a lot of concrete. And then this whole upper floor is clad in black zinc.
I love that, yeah.
And the black zinc just sort of wraps the whole thing. And it's an extraordinary material because it self-heals. If it gets a little scratch or something like that, it'll start closing it up over time.
Wow. Have you used that before?
Not at this scale. So really, it's very long term. It's a 50 to 100 year material.
That's amazing. I had no idea it self-healed. And I wonder, like, do you ever want it to look a little old? I guess not.
Oh, there will always be the marks of construction that you can't ignore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so the bedrooms are downstairs, and then the middle, so the second level is the master bedroom, right?
Master bedroom, and that carve away for the floor.
You changed this beautiful sort of grill work on the stairs heading up, right?
Yes, that's sort of, we use quite a lot of black steel. And so this was a moment of saying that it'd be so nice to have light being filtered through the screen. And also it gives us a little, I hadn't mentioned that there's a public walkway down that open side of the house. So
wow.
kind of the house genuflects to the public walkway, and that's part of that gesture. But it also means the glass around there also means that you're a little more exposed. So we wanted to have a little bit more shielding. So when you come down the stairs, you're not easily on view to the public. So we developed a design and used an algorithmic pattern to kind of shape that. And it's all V, based on V's and K's. And those relate very directly to the V brace that's on the outside. So they're all the same angles repeated. And the same angles are repeated in the guardrail supports, which also are shaped like that.
That's beautiful. Yeah, you know, the thing about you, Clive, is that the architecture is always really, really strong, but there's an exuberance to things that you do. Even if it's like you said, it's very methodical, it's very planned, but those moments are so beautiful, and that black and steel grill work is gorgeous.
Oh, you're so sweet. That was fun. That was really fun. And also, you got to know when to stop with something like that. So it only really happens at that moment.
Right, and like behind you. So we have a black and steel moment behind you with all the bookcases, but also what you're sitting on. Like, you know, you said, like, I'm fearless. I love it. That's what it is.
Great.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Great Maharam fabric.
We love Maharam. So I want to know, so is that the media room, which is actually at the front of the house with the huge glass?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll actually do a rotation of the laptop. So
yeah, let's see. Let's
have a look. So the street is out there. The lower part is actually a haze on the glass for privacy reasons. And you can see up to the top there, and then going all the way around, you can see the library on the other side.
Yes, yes.
I wonder if I can just keep going.
Yeah, just keep going. You might as well.
Oh, sorry, it's a little bit, little rocky.
Yeah, just come back to me. Yeah, no, it's fantastic. So it's interesting because it looks like, first of all, that's such a huge expanse from the street. But it's the back of the house where you get the completely glorious view, right? And you're on that floor. So you're on the living room floor right now, right?
Yes, absolutely. In every evening in these windows right here, So we get this kind of beautiful blast of sunlight around sort of 6, 7 o'clock.
That's amazing. So how is it? So how has it been being in the middle, having the kids at the bottom, and having this amazing living kitchen expanse upstairs?
It's fantastic, and one of the reasons, as I said earlier, the separation of 3 floors makes the appalling noise of the children really sort of suppressed. And then, of course, when they are upstairs here, and it sometimes does get riotous, you have to go downstairs.
Right.
And they get banished, and so we have volume control.
Yeah, you do. I love that.
But we have volume. It's a house with volume control.
I love that. I love it. So let's back up a little just to tell everybody. So how long ago did you get married to the wonderful, beautiful, lovely Elizabeth? How long has it been now?
Gosh, it's almost 2 years ago, and we've been together almost 4 years. But I got the house just before, and in fact designed it just before meeting her. So it was in construction. It
was in construction. Uh-huh. And so, yeah. But you were blending this family that.
Yes. I've got 2 of my own children, and then so there were 2 rooms for those 2. And then, yes, suddenly I had a relationship with a fabulous Elizabeth and adorable Chloe, our 14-year-old, my 14-year-old stepdaughter now.
Right.
And just fortunately, the house was able to take all 3 bedrooms. I had this sort of spare bedroom on the bottom floor. Maybe it was in anticipation somehow.
Totally. Wait, what are your kids' names? Let's make sure we give everyone their due.
Mine is Hayden, who is turning 10, and Kiki, who is 8. And then there's Chloe, who's 14.
Fantastic. No, that's wonderful. So how exciting was that for the whole family to move into this new house?
Very exciting. Although, of course, it was, we went through the same thing that everyone goes through with a house, which is, are we going to be ready in October? Are we going to be ready in November? Are we going to be ready in December? And of course, when we actually moved in, we had no hot water. We had no gas for cooking. And we had to have cold showers for about 6 weeks, and it was winter.
Oh my goodness. So that was fun.
So it kind of put a little bit of a damper on moving in.
Yeah. On the whole vision of swooping up your wife and crossing the thresholds, right?
Right.
Right. So what were some of the, you're building this house. What were some of the difficult, difficult moments or lessons learned in building this house?
Well, we had a couple of terrible contractors, not the main contractor, but 2 subcontractors, one, the concrete one and the steel one, 2 of the most important.
Right, of course.
And so we had a lot of problems with concrete and had to have walls literally pulled down and redone. And then we had mind-boggling issues of steel coordination, which I've never experienced in my life. Steel, I've always regarded steel as one of these great trades that has very tight tolerances. It's kind of an 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/4 of an inch tolerance. We had a column put in that was 4 feet out of place.
Oh my God. I'm sorry.
We had the errors were just, they were just mind-boggling. I was wondering how these people could be in the trade.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway,
I'm so sorry. Well, you can't tell now, and it looks perfect, or as perfect as you want it to be. Let's talk about some of the furnishings, which are really beautiful and eclectic. And you've always had an amazing hand for that, even in all of the commercial work that you do.
Oh, thank you. Well, we were able to reuse more than I expected. This is actually a reclad.
Love that.
Dutch Montes sofa from the first house.
Love that.
Yeah, a couple of these were reclad, and so a fair bit of recycled furniture. And then we got some nice Casina sofas, Pirilisoni, also a couple of Pirilisoni rotating armchairs. And
he's a master. He's a master.
Wow. Yeah. And then we actually had a day bed from the old house, which was also pure Lusoni, that just happened to blend perfectly in the master bedroom. The grey and white sort of textured fabric went exactly with the concrete behind it.
Love that.
So serendipitous things happened. In fact, the orange things in this room, there are quite a few orange things in this room, which were part of the past, just happened to work here as well. And then, of course, I had my dad's handmade dining table, which is made of ironwood, which he made at age 90.
Oh, really? It's beautiful, and I love the eclectic mix of the chairs around the table.
Yeah, well, there's another nice story there. There's only 2 upholstered chairs around the table, and the children are not allowed to sit in those. We were going to get a couple more upholstered chairs, and then we realized that they would have massive stains in no time. So there's a lot of practical, yes, Eames plywood and Panton chairs and things like that.
Fantastic. Hey, kids, you're getting a bad rap here. Wait, I want to talk about the bathroom. It's stunning. And I think you had mentioned that you designed the bathroom around the tub.
Oh, yes. We found a perfect tub. So hard to find the right tub, and of course it has to do with the space, but also even more importantly it has to do with being a great tub to lie in. I've forgotten the name of that brand. It's an Italian tub, and now they've discontinued them. But yes, it had a black outside and a white inside, yeah. and so the black and white theme of the bathroom kind of evolved from there. And then we found these great, actually commune designed floor tiles, which are kind of
the cement tiles, right?
And charcoal. Yes, kind of Moroccan cement tiles.
Right.
And we paired that also with Bazaza mosaics for the shower. And then the sink area, we were able to get these great, I think they're agape, sort of flowing in basins. So that was all a lot of fun. And then painted the carcass of the vanity black lacquer, so it kind of went with everything.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. I love the bathroom. It's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Of course, I have not been in the house yet, but one day I will. I'm on the wrong post. Yeah. But I do see, Clive, you have a lot of your friends, our friends over. I saw Joey Shimoda there, and like everyone must be really excited and loving being in the house.
Oh, people are fabulous. Yes, we had a cocktail party in January before everything sort of went pear-shaped with COVID-19. And so many people, I think Edie Cohen was here. So many people came and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, like what is that like with architect friends at architect friends' homes?
Oh, the questions.
Right.
And the jokes. It's all great.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. You know what I say about, my house here, which is also an upside down house.
I can't wait to see one day.
Yeah, you'll see one day. But that it's a happy house. Like, I think it's important to live in places where you feel loved and feel happy. And when I see this house, which is gorgeous and strong and architectural, but when I see you in there with your family, it feels very much like a happy house.
It is. I think that we always feel a sort of sense of privilege to be, and a sense of gratitude to be in a place that's really fundamentally lovely to be in. And we actually going through COVID-19, and we can't complain, honestly. It's such a privilege. It has been, obviously a brutal period for everyone, mostly because of personal relationships and challenges that, business challenges and things like that. But we are, extremely lucky to be living in this kind of, living and working, adapting to working from home.
Right. It really feels like an oasis for you and your family. And how is how is the whole blended family thing going? You can tell me. Well,
I guess I complain about the sort of hooligan behavior, but they're most happy when they're hooligans. And you get to a point of, you go through admonishing them, and then you realize, but they're so enjoying this behavior. So why don't you shut up and just enjoy it too? So yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing. Chloe's the 14-year-old who is now also helping the younger ones with their schooling and kind of guiding them and things like that. And she's got over the completely natural initial sort of sort of awkwardness of a 14-year-old having to, you know, deal with these little kids,
right?
Which is completely natural, and she's adapted fantastically. She's an excellent older sister, and they're very grateful.
Yeah, of course, of course. And Clive, I just would like to remind you that you can be extremely, it's what we love so much about, so exuberant and so full of life and so passionate and maybe even a little rowdy once in a while.
This is true. No, I've got to blame myself, absolutely. They might be taking after me, but part of educating them is to teach them not to take after me.
You take after the good parts, and you know. Well, first of all, how's the office doing? How are you guys managing? Have any projects opened up?
We yes, one very nice one has just opened up for a cannabis company. I think this industry is growing in leaps and bounds, and in fact, the COVID-19 is actually in their favor. So yes, this is a company of about 5,000 people who need offices all over the world, and so we're working on a whole new concept for that. And that's
fantastic news, Clive, huh?
Yeah, oh my God, it's such a relief. Yes.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
Thanks.
You know, it's like, you know, I wonder what we'll say in years from now, looking back, what we learned, but certainly when something like that comes through, you have to really count your blessings, that's for sure. Yes,
we also have a wonderful project with Lululemon doing their headquarters in Vancouver. So those two in particular are, and we're converting a Lautner house as well, John Lautner.
You are?
We are, for a wonderful client, and that's academically fascinating.
Like, I could see this house as being one in 50 years. We look back at that house and say that represented, you know, a modernist house of its time, and it's going to last forever, kind of thing.
Oh, that's very sweet of you. I think the fundamentals of the house are of its time. It's very simple in using the way it uses concrete, the way it uses steel and glass. It's rational and simple, and then it does celebrate its living areas, which I mean, I think these are all very appropriate and classic concerns in creating a house. So it's not frivolous in any sort of shape or form, but at the same time, it does manage to be expressive about. I think it expresses the right things. In other words,
right. It certainly does. It's like you said, it's like really honest materials, and ones that are going to look great for a long time. Especially that roof, especially the blackened. What did you say that heals itself?
Black zinc.
The black zinc. God, that's fantastic.
That's great. It's a Swiss material. Yeah, it's lovely.
Amazing. Well, listen, I wish you all the love and happiness. Send big love and hugs to Elizabeth, and I can't wait to get the tour in real life, in real time, and get one of your Clive Wilkinson hugs. But meanwhile, this will be okay too.
Oh, thank you so much, Cindy. Love you too.
Sending you lots and lots of love, okay?
Bye.
Okay. everybody. This is Cindy Allen, Editor-in-Chief of Interior. Imagine this. I'm at Kate. What's happening? These terrific designers and hear about this very cool. So they could get a pulse on what's current and what's coming next. And the things that are both approachable, aspirational, and human-centered, just like Delta. They call them, I love this, you guys, the hashtag Delta Difference Makers, and they're here with us today. Leyla Jaworski, you're in Sacramento, right? What's the name of your company?
Design Shop Interiors.
Right, and then we have Eche Martinez, and you're in San Francisco, and Avissa Mojtahedi, and you're in Toronto, which is fantastic. We have so many friends in Canada. It was such a pleasure, you guys, and it was so like kind of off the cuff that we met. And you did an amazing job on your installations. Leyla, why don't you tell us about the program?
So this was actually our second phase of the program. They contacted us. I guess it's been a couple of years ago now, and said, hey, we want to partner with designers, and we want to have you bring our plumbing products to life by designing a room that we're going to assign to you. And the first round, they just gave us a faucet and said, design a room. That was really fun because it was sort of sky's the limit, and those rooms were brought to life in CGI, which was amazing. And even to this day, I get people thinking that it's a real room. And then the second round was even better because they said, we're actually going to take your designs and bring them to life at KBiz. So that was really exciting.
I mean, that's a big deal. So I was lucky enough to like go there and actually see the room. So Eche, I mean, Delta's a huge brand. There are three of you. I mean, what was that like?
Well, so, when Delta first approached us a couple of years ago, it almost felt like, you're given this carte blanche as a designer. It's almost like you're doing your own showcase room. And, I cannot think of anything more exciting than being able to get this sort of like, big blank slate, this huge audience, especially at KBiz, and, being able to produce this room and actually walk through the room. It's such an added level of experience that I just think that was so magical and so tangible. And, just like you and I, we all came together within the space and we could walk around it. So that's something that I think it was just like, priceless from a designer perspective.
Absolutely. Now, so Avissa, we're going to get to the rooms, but first tell me, was it hard to figure out actually what you wanted to do? Because there's a lot you want to say as a designer. You're going to be out there in front of the world. How do you figure that out?
Well, typically with any project, I always want to do something like very unexpected. So right off the bat, when I knew I was doing a kitchen, I thought I need some sort of a live element. And I was just fixated on having like real lemons and out a faucet. But I'm like, I've got to have these lemons in there and it has to go with the faucet. And um, yeah, I think like for all of us, we all had the initial experience of phase one without actually seeing it come to life. But I feel like even throughout the initial process, we're like, I wish we could actually bring this to life and actually touch the finishes and see it all come together. And
I think it was really successful too for the visitors of KBiz. I mean, I've gone to KBiz for the last several years, and I just saw reactions from the people coming through the booth that I had never seen before in other booths, because they walked in and it was kind of like, oh my gosh, they built these rooms here. And that was really fun. There were people that we interacted with and talked to, but then there were other people who were just in our booths and we were getting to watch their reactions and things like that. And it was really fun.
I felt the same way. And now that you're telling me this, I remember them saying there was the year before idea. And the fact that I mean, look, that was very, very generous that they actually built out the rooms. But as somebody walking the floor and seeing the three different personalities of the rooms and you guys being there was really, really special.
just the experience alone had so much value to us as designers and everyone like actually being there. Because you can put together any design on paper or a mood board or even like through all the samples, but once you're actually in the space and you can see, and all the textures as well. It just adds so much more to it.
I think the build out of the booths really brought the plumbing to life for everyone. And, you know, Avissa, for instance, every time I turned around, there was a crowd around her island because people were obsessed with the glass rinser. As was I. I think everybody walked away thinking, I need this in my kitchen. And it upstaged her lemons.
And Eche, did you have people wanting to take a shower?
I had a lot of people who actually, I don't know if you remember, we had the layout, we got, you know, the freestanding tub, and we were showcasing the Chilean collection. And one of sort of, you know, the sort of open negative space in around the shower, we had a bench. And I think people, you know, from walking at caves all day, they were exhausted. They would see the bench and they would just like, you know, sit there and start looking at me and, oh, wow, okay, so you're the designer here in this place. And I was like, yeah, just, you know, take a seat, it's fine. So it ended up being sort of this like hangout space, like, you know, next to the tub and the shower, and it was very sort of experiential in a way.
I love that. And you know, those things happen because you design a space that kind of opens it up to have that happen, which is so special, right? And you don't know exactly what reactions they're going to be. I mean, yours was an amazing booth and installation, and of course they were going to like it, but just having that, right? As a designer, you kind of like go, oh, right, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, and if anything, you know, that's the great thing about all coming together at a show like KBIS. It's all about serendipity. You meet some random, you know, tradesperson who's going to be sitting there, or someone from the media, and then everyone's, you know, giving each other's business cards, and that's sort of the magic that really took place within the space. But you know, you don't see it coming. I was like, we need some form of seating here. And it was just the perfect vehicle to sort of, you know, become an icebreaker and get to know random people from, well, you know, KBIS, people from pretty much all over the world.
All over the world.
All over the world, yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so Leyla, we have to talk about you because you're the overachiever of the group. I think you did 2 rooms. Show off.
Well, they had bigger rooms.
Yeah, okay, all right. But tell us how you sort of develop the ideas.
So when they gave us our floor plan, originally they were assigning kind of different identities to my spaces. And when I looked at the floor plan and the space that I had, I went back to them and said, hey, what would you think if I actually did something else in these spaces and laid it out for them? And they loved it. So they let me kind of take the lead on changing my rooms up a little bit. And it still obviously worked with my plumbing collections.
That's actually very, very clever. And also it was fun to be able to talk to you about the different perspectives, right? It was sort of like, okay, this is what I'm thinking in the bath. This is what I'm thinking in the kitchen.
And I wanted the 2 rooms to feel like they could have been in the same home. So I did a butler's pantry, and then I also did a master bathroom. So I wanted it to feel like you were in the same house with the 2 spaces.
Okay, Leyla, you have to tell us what's going on right now in your life. So you had a bad accident.
I had a bad accident, nothing permanent. Memorial Day weekend, we were on a big camping trip and I rolled my quad in the desert and had to be helicoptered to the trauma hospital and spent 8 days there. And I have an ankle broken in 3 places. I broke 6 ribs, I bruised my lung. And then after being released from the hospital, I ended up back in because I got a blood clot in my 2020 has been a year. But nothing's permanent. So my ribs were the worst part and they've healed. I mean, I could have never done this even 3 weeks ago.
But Leyla, you said you learned a lot about, you know, we're talking about health and wellness, and we will be for the future. And you were saying how much you learned as a designer by sitting in that chair. Tell us about it.
I have such a new appreciation for ADA. And just the needs of anyone with any kind of physical limitation, things that I just never thought of before. Like, I think, okay, we all get it. We know what ADA is, but you truly don't understand how important simple things are, like a grab bar. Coming home from the hospital, and I'm so grateful that I did that, because if I didn't have my hand showers in my bathroom, I wouldn't be able to shower. I have in my master bathroom this amazing kind of wet room. My bathtub sits in my shower. I can't get in it because I have a curb. So I'm now in my hall bathroom kind of on a little shower chair and just making do. But now I'm like, wow, I don't think I'm ever going to do a shower with a curb in it again, because you just live, the elderly kind of aging in place design is one thing, but just for someone like me, I'm 45 years old and I had an accident and I can't use my master bathroom right now. So, simple things like the other day I rolled up to my kitchen sink and my arm, I couldn't reach the faucet yet. And I was thinking, wow, I really wish that I had a Voice IQ faucet. So it's just little things like that that I took for granted before.
Healing power of water, and your room was a bath. So why don't you take us through what you were thinking about when you were designing your installation?
So it all started, it's almost like a reverse exercise. Delta got in touch with us, 3 different firms separately. We each knew we had our own sort of allocated space and we could portray our point of view as designers. And the first thing that you get is the product. And I was very happy that I got the Trillion collection because I think, well, first of all, it's a new product category for them. I think it's very much aligned with my point of view as a designer, in which, there's something in between sort of like tailored and masculine and sophisticated, but also sort of fun and approachable, that I think all those sort of like trigger points are right there within the product. And then I said, okay, so let's start doing sort of the reverse exercise. So we've already got the product. We know the finish that we'll be showcasing at KBIS. Why don't we start working the narrative from the way back? And we say, okay, if we're going for this sort of like aspirational yet approachable space, how do we create something that people can relate to? And I said, if we all had an unlimited budget and unlimited square footage and, all these sort of like, like magical components, it would not be real life, right? And if you were to be building something for people to relate to, it needs to be within certain limitations of what's, everyday life, real life for us. So our narrative was coming up with a space that was a single. They had just remodeled this space in their house in upstate New York. Because they left they left their life in the city. And now that I think about it, since it was early to 2020, I was like, wow, I guess we kind of saw it coming, right? There was like this like young family that to leave the city, they decided, let's just like build our dream sort of like enclave, just like run away from the city. And I think people really related towards that, because I said, if it's gonna be just one beautiful bathroom that the whole family will share, we need to make sure that, of course, we've got the beautiful big open shower for mom and dad to enjoy, but also, you also need to make sure that you got the freestanding tub if you got a kid or a toddler or even a dog. So that really became sort of the centerpiece for our layout, and then we started working around it. And I think, when also for us it was really fun, because I wish all of our projects were like this. Delta, they did such a wonderful job and it was so easy for us. We came up with all the finishes, the elevations, the renderings. It was like everything was completely digested. And then they gave it to their amazing team that actually builds their booth at KBIS every year. And I kid you not, we landed in Vegas, we went straight to KBIS, and I was like, oh my God, if all my job sets were like this, that someone just like takes the blindfolds out and is like, Eche, it's done, time for the fun. I was like, yeah, sign me up.
We were nervous too, because the crew that builds out a booth is different than your contractors. And I remember all of us kind of talking and we were like, oh God, I hope these can get executed. I'm like, I did inset cabinets. I'm like, how are they going to build my inset cabinets?
No, that's amazing. Actually, a couple things. First of all, I love that there was something where you say the relationship with the client is really, really important to you. I'm sure it is for all of you, but that you always start with the client. So you had to create your own narrative for this one, which I love. And by the way, I do think in many ways, a lot of things that have been happening, like you said, you were like in a strange way preparing for what's going on right now, which is kind of crazy. But I also love the whole aesthetic of your space. It is modern, it's bold, it's kind of edgy, a little masculine, but like, I think great for all sexes actually. So it felt like a space that, I really was attracted to it and wanted to go in right away. And by the way, I love that your tub is a square tub. The space allowed for you to have like the dual vanity, and it gave you space to play, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's why, when I was mentioning that we landed in Vegas, we go see the space, and then the next super fun thing that actually rarely happens, we went, Leyla and I, and same thing with you, Avissa, we all like, we saw the space, and I was like, check, it looks amazing. When we all run to buy accessories. So we went on this like Delta shopping spree, and I said, okay,
I
we got.
love that. Oh my God.
Fun. It was so much fun. You just put it on Delta's corporate card, and then it helped us, like you were saying, with our narrative. So I said, okay, this is gonna be mom's side of the vanity. This is gonna be that side, and then people, people are aware of those little details, right? They were like, oh, there's the shaving cream on this side, and there's the eyelash curler on the other side. So I think also we brought it to again, going back to sort of the human-centered experience. It's something that truly made sense, and people could see themselves enjoying that space, which I think is ultimately what happened when you walk through the space.
They really let us bring those spaces to life. It was kind of just do what you got to do.
And I love this. You're going to get in trouble for this. This Delta corporate card. Okay, so like, all right. So put that away. Put that away right now. All right, Avissa. Let's head over to the lemons. You talked about it's so funny as a designer. I have to have this. I don't know if it was lemons or it had to have the yellow or the nature. I mean, to me, I saw nature.
Yeah, no, definitely the nature element. A little bit of drama in a good way, but really just that contrast of color and adding that depth. Obviously, we had a very limited space as well. So I wanted to make sure that the backdrop and the main elevation really drawed your eye up and kind of captured your view, and then everything else kind of just built around that. So it wasn't really about the lemons, but the natural element was really important to me. And also it was a show. Clearly we would not have that kind of feature in a real home, but just it being a show, I wanted things to kind of just stand out a bit. And then I was also in the middle beside the seating area, so I wanted to kind of kick off Eche and I's section with like a splash of color, and then the seating was very neutral, and then Layla's amazing design stuff was on the other side as well. So just kind of something to pull everyone's eye in. So that everyone could walk around properly, and also to accommodate more people sitting at the end. So we were able to tuck in chairs at the side. It was just a very smooth transition around.
What did the folks walking KBIS like? What were some of their reactions, and what did they say about your booth or installation?
The glass rinser was a huge hit, so that's kind of that was a given. But I found a lot of people really interested in the, just the curve and the shape of the faucet and how I was able to kind of introduce those shapes and elements in my design as well. So the rounded island and just the softer features, even the warmth in my colors, kind of the mustard tone in the backdrop with the backing of the cabinets against more of a contrasting and more stark black and white on the stone. So it was kind of, I think a lot of people were really interested. So everyone would kind of stand there for a few minutes and just kind of digest what was going on.
Kind of take it in, right?
Totally. They're like, what am I looking at here? I think I love it. We're not sure, but.
What collection did you use?
I had the Emmeline faucet. And so I loved how, I just loved the shape of it as well. And I loved the matte black finish, and it was just like really beautiful.
And it was a showstopper. When you walked in, you like saw the booth and you went right to it. So congrats on that. Okay, Leyla, you got the two, you took one space, you made it into two. I like some of what you wrote about who you are, that you're sort of like approachable and not a fancy pants designer, and like you are who you are.
I am who I am. That's a great thing about your 40s. Well, and I think just my my path into interior design is a little unconventional. I don't have a degree. I've never taken a formal design class. I just sort of kind of from my kitchen table developed this business and this company, and it is a little bit humbling. And I was sort of just like, hey, there's that girl who, oh, I can design stuff. So approachable was just always kind of who I was.
Mm. Yeah, and you use that in your in your designs too. You take advantage of that. You sort of celebrate that.
I do. I think our designs tend to be a little bit more casual. Like, I think they're very sophisticated when you look at them, but they're livable. They're casual. People feel like, oh, my dog could sit on that sofa if I wanted. A lot of washable slip covers. In my booth, I used marble, terracotta. So we try to just incorporate those easy natural materials that you feel like, yeah, these could be lived in and beat up over time, but it's still going to feel good.
Yeah, and so tell us what you used in the bathroom. What faucets did you use? What collection?
I had the Kyra in the bathroom and the Coranto in the butler's pantry. What was really amazing, what I thought about these spaces is it allowed the plumbing to come to life. Having been at KBIS the year before where our spaces weren't really brought to life, it was a little bit more flat for us. But we were just walking, people just walked into our booths and they started turning on the faucets and it was like hands-on. The Kyra, which I'm now obsessed with, it's a bathroom faucet with a hidden pull-down feature. So as someone with a 9-year-old little boy who gets more toothpaste in the sink than he does in his mouth, that I was like, how is every faucet not have a pull down cleaning feature? Like, this is genius. And that was the reaction that we were getting, like, and like Avissa, people were just walking in and rinsing glasses. So it was interesting to see that the spaces we designed allowed the plumbing fixtures to come to life.
I really love your kitchen space that celebrated color, right? And also it sort of reminded me, and like, you're a shop owner too, and it had a little bit of that mercantile feel to it.
I wanted it to feel like if this was mine, what would I have on the shelves? I'd have glassware, I'd have cutting boards, I'd have wooden spoons, and all the things that go into a kitchen and the things that you need to cook with.
Yeah, you could definitely see it. Looked like you used that credit card really well. There was a lot of shelves with a lot of cool stuff on it.
We all shipped a lot of stuff, and then we got there and we were like, we still need more stuff. And they were like, go do, like, we want this to wow people. And so we were allowed to do it.
But Eche, what were you saying?
It's when it comes to styling shelves, it's never enough. It's
never enough.
So many accessories. I mean, you guys,
what was it, like 8 o'clock the night before it opened, and I'm sitting there going, I don't have enough stuff.
I mean, you were like shopping like at 10 p.m. that night, remember?
I love the connection between the three of you too, because you come from different practices, different places. Eche, you studied in Paris, but you're from Buenos Aires, right?
Correct. I know there's no accent there whatsoever, but yes, I am.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Hola, Cindy. Yeah, and I moved to California 10 years ago. Life serendipity brought me to the Bay Area, and I was very lucky to meet who ended up being my mentor there, Martha Angus. And she showed me the ropes, and here we are. I was able to just open my own firm and start building my practice and my team in the Bay Area, and get to meet Leyla and Avissa, of all places, shooting a video together in Indianapolis, right, for Delta Faucet. So that's the beauty of it all.
That's beautiful. All right, so let's talk. So you did these beautiful installations. You got a lot of good feedback from the industry. What are you seeing right now? Look, we're all going through something we never thought in our lives, but how do you think what's happening right now is influencing trends in the kitchen and bath upcoming in your practices? Avissa?
Definitely, having more of accessibility in terms of all of our products, and just since everyone is also working from home, making sure I find like everybody is changing up their space, their layout, making sure that it's comfortable for everyone at home. And I know dynamics within families have changed a lot as well. So leaving extra space between each other, perhaps, moving to different rooms, different sides of the house. But just, in terms of designing now for clients, I feel that a lot has definitely changed, and I'm really catering to, if it's a couple, I'm catering to each of them independently, maybe, versus as a team. So I'll get little text messages. I know she wanted this, but this is here.
Oh boy, the battle of the partners. Oh my God.
Work from home space is not sufficient. Make mine better.
My goodness.
there's definitely that element. So yeah.
Leyla, are you, is your shop open or are you?
Yes. So what happened with us, right? Mid-March is when our governor was shutting everything down. And we actually, a few days before it was happening, we kind of saw the writing on the wall. At that point, our team had grown to 18. 14 were at the design firm and 4 were at the retail store. And my husband and I just kind of looked at each other and we go, we have to close the shop. Like, we have to lay off the team. We can't lead payroll if we're not open. So we laid off our shop team. And luckily for us, our operating costs are pretty low, our rent's affordable. And we just said, okay, we're just going to close the door and ride this out. We'll be okay. And I immediately started getting DMs. I need a candle. I want this. Like, we have a pretty good Instagram following and I want this and I want that. And we kind of went, So we immediately pivoted to an e-com model with curbside pickup. Like, even my regular shop, we don't ship or anything like that. We're really focused on local community and our brick and mortar. We had just had our new website built out in Shopify, and that allowed us to kind of flip a switch, if you will. And it's been incredible. Like, I couldn't believe the amount of sales that we were doing. And, you know, to add on to what Avissa said, like, I just think home has a totally new meaning now. And people not only are stuck at home, but they're not spending money on other things. They're not going on vacation. So we kind of held our breath, like, we're a luxury industry. If the ship sinks, what's happening to us? And it's been the exact opposite. People are choosing to spend their dollars on their homes, and we're back to a waiting list. And we've actually expanded the footprint of our shop, and we're making some changes. This whole experience, I think, for us has been a blessing in disguise. We were able to look at our business a little bit differently and reshape it for the better, I think. And we decided ultimately that we're going to keep our team a little bit smaller in the end.
Yeah, I have to say, though, there was one thing that you had said, which was that, you know, we've been talking in the industry about health and wellness for a really long time. And I say, as designers, we talk about it as we work ourselves to the bone. That we're not living it. We don't understand. We don't have that deep meaning that now we do. And Leyla, you were saying, this is a perfect example. You would not stop. You won't stop. You won't stop. And unfortunately, it was an accident, but it's made you stop and take a breath.
I was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue several months ago because I don't stop, because this has taken over. And I was working on healing that and making significant changes. But everyone who knows me, now that they know that I'm okay, it's kind of a joke that, oh, the universe did this on purpose. And what's the lesson that I'm going to take away from it? And I'm hoping that, like I said before, the new meanings of ADA and the importance of certain things that I took for granted before, like those are going to sit with us, and those are going to help us help people make better decisions for their lives.
Yes. Okay. Now remember, you just said it live, so you cannot take it back, Leyla. Now, Eche, tell us a little bit about your practice too. Again, I think the residential part of the market has not been hit as hard as the commercial. How are you finding it?
Well, the first 2 weeks, like Leyla was mentioning, I think even for us in the Bay Area, the shelter-in-place mandates were a bit stricter. The first 2 weeks, beginning mid-March, all of our job sites were shut down, and it filled our industry with a lot of uncertainty. And I think a lot of metro areas can relate to that. So we went back to the drawing board, and back to Leyla's point, we're so focused on our immediate community. I had never had to do any video calls, not even conference call with my clients. It's always, I would get in my car, drive to the meeting, bring the samples, have build this long-lasting relationship that I have with my clients, very, very in-person, right, meetings. So I said, okay, let's give it a try. And we started sort of, okay, how do we portray what we're trying to illustrate in front of our clientele, who we know very well, but now we need to change our vehicles and show them how to move forward with the projects. And our clients related really well to it. We were very lucky that we stayed busy through those sort of like 2 very sketchy weeks that we really didn't know how things were going to unfold. Luckily, some restrictions were relaxed when it came to the job sites, of course, taking necessary precautions for hygiene and social distancing within the job sites. But then things started to pick up again, I would say early April. And we had already gained enough momentum in which we, every morning we came up with a system. Every morning we have a team call. We know what are going to be the deliverables for the day, who's going to reach out to each one of our clients, so we let them know what's going on with the projects. So I would say, even though we have not gone physically back to the office, we are really, really busy. I'm actually surprised how busy we are with our projects. People, like Leyla was saying, are really investing time and energy to rethink what it means to be home. I think now more than ever, and it sounds like a cliche, but now more than ever, really, like, nothing comes true to having the definition of home. It's just being reimagined constantly. And there's a few things on that front. I think people, they may be working home for the rest of the year, or there may be a new sort of like mindset in which, well, maybe we don't all need to hit the road and go to the office Monday through Friday. Maybe we start sort of, breaking the week apart, and you have some days that you work from home, some days that you go to the office. So I think to find that space that where you can focus, when you can connect with your team members remotely, you can have the privacy that you need. I think that's really important. We're getting a lot of requests. Okay, how do we reimagine this formal dining room that we never use, right? Or, my husband really needs a space to work out, and I'm just done with him being in the garage, just like with his bench. Or like actually, like back at my gym when I used to have a membership, like my one thing just to let the day go and just completely deconnect was going to the steam shower. Can we have a steam shower at home? Or like, how do we sanitize our clothes? Like, or, things that need to go to the dry cleaner. It's just all these things that are coming and building, and it really, makes you reimagine these spaces and how they will need to work.
Isn't it crazy not crazy. We've always taken maybe hygiene for granted. And now it's a very serious topic. And insofar as also technology, or like Leyla, like you were saying, I think, you're thinking about it differently. Like, I don't want to have to touch the faucet. So are your clients talking to you about that too?
For sure. For us, at least. Yeah. And it's, I think Delta has always been ahead of the game in technology, but I think a lot of these things that we maybe thought of more as a commercial application, like the touch lists and things, that people are wanting them in their homes now.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question about that. So that's actually a good pivot for a company like Delta, right? Yeah, no, that's amazing. Okay, wait, I have to ask you guys. All right, raise your hand. Who's been who used, because I saw these beautiful material boards on some of the concepts for the installation. Who was using Material Bank? Eche was using Material Bank.
I'm addicted to it. It's such a great tool. It just honestly, it just fills in the gap anytime that we're coming up with concepts, or like you were saying, material boards for a meeting. And it's the one thing I was actually mentioning during our call. The one thing I like about Material Bank is that it really takes you out of your usual, your list of suspects, or like, your usual showrooms that you go to. And for instance, going back to finding a place where to work out. A couple of months ago, a client of mine said, okay, we want to have soft flooring for, working out at home. Maybe in the future, when we have our first kid, this will be like a family room, playroom area. So also we want to make sure that it's soft and it's kid friendly, but also we want to make sure that it's like low VOC and it's organic. So I was like, okay, I have no idea what we're going to specify. But then come Material Bank, there's all these absolutely beautiful natural cork textures. And it just like, it just clicked. I was like, oh, wow, I can have these like beautiful, like 10 samples delivered to my office tomorrow morning, right in time for the meeting. And the clients absolutely loved it because it answered the question that we've been having for meetings and meetings on end. How do we solve the issue of something that's practical, that's beautiful, that's natural, and that's durable? And I was like, okay, we got the answer.
When you're on lockdown and you can't get anywhere, like it, yeah. I wish we had been using it. We are now, and I'm really excited about it. If you knew the hoops I had to go through to get some of my samples for the boards that we did for Delta, if I had Material Bank, it would have saved me a lot of time.
I'm sure. And Eche, as you say, when there's something you need, you can type in the attributes and things come up. So that's what's really helpful. And of course, a Material Bank is the SANDOW company. It's part of our beloved design group of innovation, and Delta is part of that. The thing is, we've had a relationship with Delta, whether it's Material Bank. They do a lot of research with us at Think Lab. We're very, very committed to research-based information that then allows for creativity and innovation. So we have Think Lab, and I'm happy to, Leyla, I'm so happy. I can't wait for you to try Material Bank because it's all in one box. It's so easy. The next day you get it. It's like a treasure, right? When you receive, it's like a gift you receive, right, Eche?
Oh, totally. It's like Christmas morning.
Well, and honestly, even like from a business perspective, for someone like me, I have 14 people on payroll. If I now don't have to pay a design assistant to run all over town collecting samples, and she can spend 30 minutes on her computer instead and have it shipped to me, like that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, no, that's great. Avissa, you're next. You're next, girlfriend.
Well, in Toronto, we have, where I'm located, there's a lot of little shops around here for like the fabric suppliers and rugs, and especially during COVID, they've been really fantastic. They've been dropping samples off to me like within 2 hours, next morning, whatever it is. So thankfully that's been pretty efficient, but I'm certainly—
I love that. I love that. I love that. Good. Well, okay. So this is part one. We're going to have a part two together, and we're going to dig into your businesses a little bit more, but we have a couple minutes for each of you. I think it would be nice for you to give some sort of positive message to the world right now and your business, and even Delta. Leyla, go ahead. Kick it off, girlfriend.
You know what? I'm an eternal optimist. I really am. And I see the light out of the tunnel at anything. And I know that the energy of the world right now is crazy. Like from COVID to the riots and Black Lives Matter and just all, my accident, it's just been one thing after the other. But there's just this constant voice in my head that is like, you have to get through this struggle to get to the better days ahead. And I have no doubt that we will. So I have a little bit of ups and downs just being stuck in my house, which is really hard for me. But there was this one particular day I was in a really dark space, and this thought just came to my mind. And I think that it kind of speaks to just the whole situation. And because what I did is I hit a rock and it flipped my quad. And I thought, what if that rock was put in the way to save you from something worse down the line? And it was such like a powerful thought for me, because I thought, yeah, as hurt as I am, I'm going to recover. I don't have a spinal cord injury. I don't have a head injury. And I think that simple thought can sort of be applied to just what's happening in the whole world right now.
That's beautiful, Leyla. Thank you for sharing that. Avissa?
I think really, personally during COVID, it just gave me an opportunity to kind of just reflect on everything. And I've always been very positive, but it just really gives you a moment to just slow everything down and appreciate, what you have, and spending more time with family and friends, and just kind of, I feel like there's always going to be these hurdles, and some days are going to be incredibly challenging and some days not as much, but our only choice is to stay positive, and I just think that everything will eventually hopefully be okay.
I don't know a designer who isn't a positive person, which is the key, and also a problem solver. Eche?
Therapist.
Well, I think total couples therapist.
Yes.
So I think, I think we can all agree what 2020 had in store for us, at least for these first 6 months. No one could have seen in 1,000 years, could have imagined what we're all going through. But if anything, I think going back to Leyla's point, I think we're all collectively pushing forward with our actions and with our energy, and we're with our fundraising, or with your political action, or whatever you want to call it. I think we're all pushing forward towards having a brighter future. And if anything, I think this year taught us that we cannot take anything for granted. End of last year, I had a magazine ask me, a journalist asked me, well, actually, what's your definition of luxury? And, we do la-di-da, big, houses for tech people in the Bay Area. But to me, the most important thing, and I think he wasn't really happy with my answer. And I said, to me, time is the ultimate luxury. Like being able to share time with your loved ones. And if it means, if you just completely like disconnect from work for the weekend so you can connect with your family and spend time, or with your partner, or go on a hike, or enjoy nature, whatever you want to call it. I think that is the ultimate luxury. And I think for us having to like us all fully stop and see the things that we've been seeing, both, you know, like to Leyla's point to like, you know, Black Lives Matter and the riots, like, okay, maybe it's the one time where we all need to stop and rethink collectively, how are we going to move forward from now onwards, and how are we all going to be part of this conversation? And I think if anything, that's like, you know, there hopefully there's brighter days ahead of us, and that's what we're all pushing towards collectively.
They're definitely. I'll always think of you, because I always say, wait till that we're great problem solvers and great people of humanity, right? And that we will get to the other side of it. So I'll always think of your rock as getting to the other side. Well, first of all, I want to thank Delta because they picked you three. Oh my goodness, you three out of everybody that they could pick, and I can't think of a better trio. For the Delta Difference Makers. You guys are making a difference. There's a hashtag Delta Difference Makers. And I think we're going to have a round 2 together. So I will look forward to that. Meanwhile, I'm sending you all virtual hugs. And virtual hugs. Thank you so much. And we'll talk soon, okay?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, love out to the world. Love out to the world.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.